Rogue One is the first official Star Wars movie to forego the use of the opening crawl. Ironically, it's also the only Star Wars movie based upon the text of the original opening crawl. The filmmakers did decide to include the standard opening text, so we know this movie takes place in a galaxy far, far away. But without the opening crawl, we have no context for what's going on in the story or who it's about. All we know is, it was a long time ago. This is a sharp departure from every previous film in the series, all of which take time to detail in 3 paragraphs the events leading up to the film. I can only guess that the filmmakers made this decision because the movie itself already is, in a way, an opening crawl. Putting another crawl before it opens the mind up to a slippery slope of crawlception. What's next, a prequel about Jyn's mom, Lyra, who's actually a Jedi? I mean, I would totally watch that movie, but we're never going to see it, because clearly Disney has no interest in what happened before Rogue One. If they did, they would have given us an opening crawl. And honestly, I get where they're coming from. Rogue One is not a movie defined by what came before it, because it's so specifically defined by what comes after it. A fact made obvious by the numerous references and tie-ins to A New Hope. They clearly see this as a one-off movie considering they killed all the new characters, so why even use the opening crawl gimmick? Well, there are a couple of reasons. The opening crawl allows for 2 key storytelling shortcuts that are, in my opinion, crucial to Star Wars' success. First of all, the opening crawl helps to avoid a lot of expository dialogue. The Star Wars movies have always had their expositional moments, but because the opening crawl covers so much of the setup, they're able to drop the audience right in the middle of the action from scene 1 and they don't let up. This not only allows us to get lost in the world of the film, it also helps avoid moments like this.
An Imperial pilot, one of the cargo drivers, he defected yesterday. He's telling people they're making a weapon. What kind of weapon? A planet killer!
All of the information conveyed in this scene could easily have been covered in the opening crawl. One Imperial pilot defected to warn the rebellion about the Empire's new mega-weapon powerful enough to destroy a whole planet. Boom. 1 sentence, and we could have avoided introducing an entirely new location that we never return to, and a character who immediately gets killed off once his usefulness is spent. The second shortcut is avoiding major leaps forward in time. The opening crawl, when used to its potential, moves the characters into place for the action of the movie. With the crawl, the movie is free to unfold at an even pace, with each scene taking place pretty much right after the one before it. Without the crawl, the movie has to show you these details and scenes that don't really add to the story other than to reveal a simple piece of information that could otherwise be conveyed in half a sentence of text. Galen Erso is captured. Jyn is imprisoned. Basically, the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie could have been covered in 1 minute of the opening crawl. There is a third element that I feel the opening crawl brings to the Star Wars films, and that's the way it prepares the audience for the world of the movie. And I'm not talking about the words themselves, but the way they appear. Floating through the vastness of space and set to a score by John Williams, the opening crawl of Star Wars is not just text on a screen. It's a cinematic experience. Giant golden letters float past a starry background, and at the end of it, we pan down to the opening scene of the movie. That's why every single Star Wars movie begins in space, because the opening crawl is the first shot of every movie. And Rogue One still starts in space. But honestly, I wish they hadn't. If they were going to cut the opening crawl, I wish they would have chopped the opening slide as well and gone straight into an unrecognizable landscape. Then at least they would have had us guessing from the beginning. As it is, the beginning of the movie just feels like it's missing something. As an audience member, I try to shrug it off, but it's difficult because the telltale signs are there throughout, reminding me this is not a true Star Wars movie. That being said, there's still a whole lot to love about Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I don't even think it's the worst Star Wars movie. Far from it. I just think they should have given it an opening crawl. Or gone a completely different direction with it, one way or the other. Did you know that for the original Star Wars trilogy, the special effects team actually had to film the opening crawl? This method was tedious and time-consuming, so they stopped using it with the prequels, and despite their intention to return to practical effects, they didn't bring it back for The Force Awakens. And I think that's too bad, because the original method was imperfect and actually added to the drama of the story. The angle of each crawl is slightly different, with Empire's being the most extreme and dramatic. You can see the distortion of the camera lens, and the words are slightly higher on the left than on the right. In the prequels, they're all the same. But that's still better than Rogue One.